Hey, so I will show you how to convert Daz characters to Unreal Engine. And this converter is specialized for, unlike Daz to Unreal, which converts the whole character as is, my converter is more geared towards people who would rather have the whole power of Daz customization system available in their game. So if you want to have, rather than having a specific character that's like pre-designed in Daz, if you would rather instead have the base and all of the possible materials and all of the possible morphs and so on available in your character customization in Unreal, then my Blender add-on might help you with that. So what I would typically do is that you just start with the base Genesis, and then you add whatever geographs you want to add. So so I don't like the breast anatomy, for example, that comes with Genesis 9 by default. So I use this geograph, I mean, and you can choose, for example, the Golden Palace, if that's like a female character. So let's really quickly add it. Oh wait, I should probably first, before I do that, I should first apply the first I should choose some skin. So let's say I go with, I don't know, this one. Sorry, not, you have to choose material, and now you apply all of the material. Okay, and then you want to also, in my case, it didn't get properly applied to geograph, so I had to apply it separately. And also now let's apply Golden Palace. Let's copy the materials. Yeah. And let's add the shells. And now in my case, the geograph doesn't work well with the other one. You have to go to like parameters and go to the shell and scroll down here. You need to disable it for these, for all three of them. Yeah, and now that should work. And if you want, you can add some clothes. So there are different types of clothes that require different care. So let's maybe go with something that's like skin tight. So for example, let's get these clothes, and let's get, I don't know, this one. Oops, I just realized I added all of this here. I should probably choose the Genesis first. Okay, let's do it again. Let's choose this, for example. And just for the heck of it, let's maybe add some more complicated clothes just to show you. So let's take from here the guard vest. Okay, just for the sake of example. And if you want, you can also add hair. Let's add where is hair? Here. Let's just choose some random hair. Doesn't really matter. Okay, and you have to save that. I will save it here. Doesn't really matter where you save it. Test. Okay. And also you need to have Diffeomorphic installed, the latest version ideally. And if you have Diffeomorphic, you will have this export to Blender option here. You need to click it, and it will export also the DBZ file. So you also want to do that. And then you go to Blender, and you need to install the Daz optim. So there are two options to install it. You can either get it, just get the Daz optim zip, and you just install it like any other add-on, by going here, install from disk, and you just find that zip, install from disk. I already did it, but there is also a second way to do it. You can, if you uninstall it, you can just copy the source directly. So let's okay. If we create a new text, and we can just copy this whole script. So if you download the Daz optim zip file and unzip it, you will find the init.py file inside of it. You will want to copy this whole thing and paste it here, and then just run it once, and then you will also have it here. And the advantage of doing it this way is that now you can modify this code if you want to. And there are several things that you can modify in the code that you wouldn't normally be able to modify. So in particular, that includes the morphs. So if you have any special morphs, right, like if you click here on the parameters, and let's scroll here just to show you guys. Yeah, right, you have like a whole bunch of morphs or shape keys in Blender, these are called. If you have some special shape keys here that you would, that come from some add-on, you might want to add them here following, the same format. That first goes the name of the add-on, and then the path where you can find the shape keys, and then the list. And you can separate the shape keys to have like some shape keys that only are relevant to females and others that are only relevant to males, and you can have like unisex, which should be relevant to either gender. So you can add your own shape keys here in the source code, and also if you have some custom clothes, you can also add them here. I already added, here some basic list, but if you have any clothes that are not on this list already, then you might want to add them here as well, because the way this plugin works is that it needs to know what meshes are represent what purpose they serve. So like that this mesh represents clothes that are skin tight, that follow closely the shape of the skin, or if you have some clothes that do not follow the skin so closely, then this plugin, this add-on, will treat them differently. And if you have panties, then the panties also, transferring morph targets from the body to panties sometimes doesn't work so well, so there are some special procedures just for handling panties, and so on. So like the format is, as follows, that the name, you need to specify the name of the clothes item, and I can show you an example. Maybe this will like be better if I show you examples. So first, so you need to just follow those steps in order. So first let's clean everything, and then you need to load, and you can specify whether it's male or female character. Depending on which one of those you choose, the rest of the steps might differ a little bit. So in this case it's a female character, and you need to find it. In my case it's this one here, and just easy import and just wait for it to import. Okay, so it finished loading, and now you can see there are some new buttons that became active at this point. So the very first thing you should always do is to save the Blender file, and what it will do is that it will automatically save it right next to the DAV file. So the name is the same, just the suffix is different, right? You have the blend file created next to the DAV file. And then you need to save textures. This is also very important. This will create this textures directory with, you know, all of the necessary textures in it. And then, so we can save the Blender file like at any point. This button remains active. So you know, if you get to some later step and decide that you want to like save it as a checkpoint, you know, just click it. Yeah, and then the next step would be to merge all rigs. So as you see here, we have lots of meshes. So this is the geographed, you know, eyes, mouth, or this is the body mesh, and also all of the clothes that we included. So if you press the merge all rigs, as you see, the rigs disappeared, and instead only the meshes remain. So the rig is this one, right? You can now see the bones are highlighted, and also you may notice that the hair keeps its rig. The rig of the hair is not going to be merged, because if you want to later import the hair to Unreal Engine, you know, you might want to either simulate the hair bones separately, but it is also possible that you might want to not simulate the hair, and instead the hair should follow the character bones. So if you want the hair to follow the rotation of the, you know, of the like neck rig or whatever, then you might want to keep this. Yeah, and then the next step would be to generate favorite morphs. So if you look here, if you press generate favorite morphs, and let's look here again, you see this will create this file, and inside of it, it will collect, or it will look through your all of the morphs that you have installed in your Daz library, and it will find the correct paths and so on. So, and it won't, and which morph targets are going to be collected depends on what you have specified here, right? So if you have some additional shapes that are not included, you know, in the essentials, you know, in the shape essentials, then you might want to add them here yourself, right? If you don't add them, then they won't be created in this, they won't be added to this file. But assuming that you have all of the morphs that you want to use, you can load them. And this step is like optional, you know. If you go back to Daz and you decide that actually, you know, you want to change here something, I don't know, whatever it might be, it would, for example, be nice to wait. There is something shaping. Yeah, so you might want, for example, to crank this up to the max to make the base mesh already look feminine. If you do it in Daz, and then save it and load it, then this shape will already come baked in. So, the feminine body, for example, is something quite fundamental. So you might actually want to bake this. But some other, there might be some other shapes, like, maybe heavy feminine or something. Right, so you might want to have this shape key available to you in Unreal Engine, right? You might want to have this in your character creator system in Unreal. So in such a case, you don't want to apply it here in Daz. You want to have it to 0, and instead you just want to load favorite morphs. Right, and it will take a little moment. It will load all of those shape keys, and then those shape keys will be available to you in Unreal, so you can change them dynamically as you want. But if you don't want to have any shape keys at all available to you in Unreal, if you just want to bake all of your shape keys, then you can skip this step, and also you can skip the step generate fav morphs. Okay, so at this point everything loaded, and now if you loaded morphs, then you want to apply them to geographs, if you have any. So we just click OK. This is already set up to be, to match everything you have. You can modify it, but for most purposes you don't need to. You just click OK. And now you can see that the shape keys were transferred, in my case, to this breast mesh and to Golden Palace. And you can now see your shape keys here under custom shape keys, custom morphs, shapes, and all of them should be here. Right. So then you want to you have the option to subdivide the breastbones. So as you can see, the Daz characters already come with a single breastbone called L pectoral. If you press subdivide breastbones, then it will subdivide it into 3 parts. And if you, this will take a little moment. As you see, now it is subdivided into 3. Pause. 1. Yeah. So now there are 3 parts, and the weights are also subdivided appropriately. So if I do right at the bottom, you have, by the way, there are some nice useful features. You can hide our clothes. As you see, these clothes here were not hidden. I have to hide them myself. What is this? Wait. Oh, it's this mesh. Let's hide it, and now let's go here, and I will show you that. Right, so this works, and it works for both the base mesh and also for the geograph mesh. Yeah. So, yeah, and also, so now I have this piece of clothing that is not already built into this. Isn't included in this database yet. Right. So what you want to do, I would suggest you copy this line. Don't copy the hashtag. Just copy everything that's after the hashtag. Copy this line and go to this last tab and paste it here, and you will get something like this. This will make the process slightly easier. You can find your mesh. Oh, it's this one. Alright, so you want to copy it and just paste it somewhere. Let's say at the end, for example. So it will already have all of the necessary information, mostly. If your mesh is supposed to follow the skin tightly, then instead of -1, you want to put this thing here. You can also modify this, but for now, just put this constant here. And if your mesh is specifically for panties, then you want to set this to true. Other than that, you just, update this. You can copy the whole thing again. And select everything here, just delete it and paste the new code and run it again. And now you can see that these buttons now correctly detect all of the clothes. So now the Blender plugin will know how to deal with this item. Okay, so we subdivided breastbones. Oh, and we can go, if you go to this function, you can see there is this parameter called cuts. So by default, it cuts this bone in 2 places, resulting in 3 bones in total. If you want to have more or less bones for breasts, then you can modify this number. Yeah, but 3 bones is pretty okay. If you want, you can also add glute bones. So you can see I'll press this add glute bones, and you will see, yeah, these bones were added here. If you go to pose mode, it's just for jiggle physics if you need those. Similarly, if you want, you can also add thigh bones. So this is for people who want to have even more jiggle physics. All right, if you want your thighs to jiggle as well. And now, if you go to this view, let's switch to this material preview mode. And now, this is still compiling. Yeah, now everything is ready. And now you can click the simplify materials. So what it does is that let's go to the shading tab to show you exactly what this does. Object mode, this. So as you can see, by default, mesh has lots of different materials that do lots of complicated things, right? By default, the materials in Daz are a little bit complex. And if you have some geografts, that makes things even more complex. And you don't really want to have this much complexity in Unreal. You would rather simplify this whole thing. So if you press simplify materials, you can see that now the skin tone changed. It's now much more pale because we removed all of the special effects, and now the material is just the principal BSDF node and the necessary textures. So normal, roughness, and diffusion maps. So now the material literally just reads the textures and nothing else. And this is good because if you are building custom character customization system in Unreal, then you would rather have your own materials than those provided by Daz. Okay, so this step is actually very important. If you don't do this step, then many of the later steps will never become available to you. So if you don't want to add bones, you don't have to add them, but you should always simplify the materials. And now, if you want, you can also simplify the eyes. So the eye mesh is a bit complex. I can show you more exactly. Let's choose the eye mesh. Let's go to the edit mode. And if we zoom in, you can see that there are two layers basically. You can see the two layers here. Basically there's like an outer eye and the inner eye, and they have like different materials and so on, but all of this is great if you want realistic renderings, but for a game engine this is an overkill. So if you do optimize eyes mesh, now it will remove the unnecessary parts, right? It removed the two layers and left only one layer instead, and it also removed some of the unnecessary edges, some of the unnecessary mesh parts that you would never normally see in a game. So this optimizes the eye mesh. You can also optimize eyelashes. I will show you. It's kind of hard to see, but if you zoom in, you can see here, for example, you see these are like 3 layers of transparent meshes. If you do optimize eyelashes, it will just leave you with a single layer. And now as you see, my my texture got messed up. So if you ever encounter any errors, you can always do Ctrl-Z to undo the last change. And yep, and then now we go back to where we were before the error. And this is the kind of error you might see sometimes. Cannot read, and then this is the path to the Daz optim add-on assets, and it cannot find this file. So if you installed your plugin from the zip file, then it will be able to find it. But I uninstalled the zip file, and instead I used the script console. So the way to go about this is that you can either just install the plugin again, but this is actually better if you just copy this eyebrows eyelashes PNG file, and you need to put it next to your so let's go just a moment, I need to find this. Yeah, so let's copy this file and let's go here and paste it. So you can either put this file right next to your DAW file, or you can also put it in the directory above. But you need to have this file somewhere. And what is in this file is just both the eyebrows and the eyelashes put together in one image. And ideally, you know, this image that I provide you with is just, you know, just to make your life a little bit easier. But ideally, what you should really do is that you should bake your own texture like this. You know, in case if you have some custom eyelashes or custom eyebrows. Yeah, so now I put that file there, and let's try it again. Optimize eyelashes, and now everything works correctly. Let's go to UV editing, and let's select everything. And you see these are the new UVs, and they match pretty well what's in this file. Okay, so now let's optimize eyebrows. Yep, so optimizing eyebrows comes in several stages. What happens when you first press it is that you now have 2 eyebrows basically. Let's do Ctrl-Z really quickly, undo. Yeah. So I undid the last change, and these are the original eyebrows, and they are basically a mesh. These eyebrows are very heavy to render in a game engine. If you press optimize eyebrows, it will generate a new mesh that is much more lightweight. This mesh is just, you know, basically a plane with a texture, with a transparent texture. So instead of having every individual hair modeled as a, as its own mesh, you just have a transparent texture. And now you can remove, so the new optimized eyebrows will be automatically positioned to match the position of the old eyebrows. But maybe for whatever reason your it didn't work for you so well, and maybe you want to adjust the position, so you can press G to like move it or whatever. You can adjust the position. In my case, the position is already okay, so I don't need to adjust it anymore. So once you're happy with the position, you just press remove old eyebrows and apply new eyebrows, and this will apply all of the necessary modifiers and so on. And now you have new eyebrows that look just like the previous ones but are more optimized. And final step is that you need to transfer facial shape keys, right? So these are your facial shape keys. For example, brow down, right? So here the character moves the brow a bit down, but as you see, neither the eyelashes nor the brows respond to this change. So you need to transfer the facial shape keys, and this is already set up. Everything's already set up correctly. You don't really need to change anything here unless you want to. You can just press OK. Yep, and there we go. If you now go to the runtime and brow down, you'll see that the brow moves, that the eyebrows move together with the with the skin. Okay, and now you might also want to simplify the eye materials, and this is necessary if you want to later be able to optimize other things. So I really recommend you do this, and it does the same thing as the simplify materials. If you go to the shading panel, you can see that this again is just a principal BSDF with no extra stuff. It just reads the texture directly. And if you go to UV editing panel, you can select let's just select the eyebrows mesh. Wait. Edit mode. Yeah. So you can see that the UVs are match the new texture properly. And also the UVs of the eyebrows and the eyelashes, they are arranged in such a way that they could, in theory, share the same material. They don't overlap with one another. And now, next step that you can do is to separate iris UVs. So if you go here again, and let's choose the eyes mesh, and yeah, and we choose all of the vertices. You see that in Daz, you have this whole texture is sort of duplicated. You have the eyes twice, and this is because the eye material is a bit complicated. But you might want to, in Unreal Engine, you don't need all of this complexity, but you might still want to be able to separately adjust certain parameters, like iris color. You might want to adjust the iris color independently of the eye whites around it. So if you press separate iris UVs, now you can see that the iris UVs have been moved from here down here. And this is good because I will later show you that you will be able to modify those two things independently of one another. Okay, so this is all about eyes. Now, if you have your female character, then there are some additional options, for the golden palace specifically. So you might want to optimize golden palace UVs, because by default all golden palace has several UV maps. if you click here and go to data and UV maps, you can see there are lots of different UV maps, and you don't need that many in a game. So if you optimize Golden Palace UVs, it will generate a new unified UV map, which contains everything in one place, basically. So that will make it a bit simpler later on when you want to optimize all of the materials. And if this is the first time you are doing this, you want to also bake the Golden Palace materials. So in the case of the skin and eyes, we could just simplify the materials to just read from a single texture, and that would be good enough. But for the Golden Palace, there are several textures that are like mixed together in various complicated ways, as you can see here, basically. So it's not possible to simplify those materials. You will have to bake them. So if you press prepare Golden Palace for baking, it will add certain nodes here. So let's press this. Yeah, and if you go to the shading tab, you see that it just added all of these new textures that we can bake to. So there is one for roughness, one for color, and one for normals. And if you now press select color for baking, or normals for baking, or roughness for baking, it will automatically adjust many configurations. So if you scroll to the bake here, if you press this, it will automatically set the bake type to diffuse, and it will automatically select this node. This is very important. Don't click anywhere, right? If you click somewhere, then this node is no longer selected. So you have to click this again, right? Click it again, and now you see that this node is highlighted, and this is very important, and it is highlighted across all of these materials, so that now if you press bake, I'm not going to press bake now because I already baked it before, but if you press bake, it will save, it will bake the material into this selected texture, and then you do the same for select normals, and then bake, and then select and bake, and these two you don't need to care about it. And if you pressed bake 3 times, then you can save the baked Golden Palace textures, and they will appear here. But I already have those baked, so I will just copy them here. These are those 3 files. If you so again, if you press this button, it will save them here. But you only need to bake them once. Once you have those files baked, and you then decide, wait for a second, maybe I want to add here more clothes, or maybe I want to change the hair or whatever, then you just need to change, make changes in Daz, and then you just need to load it and go through these steps again, unfortunately. But then the baking takes quite a long time, and once you've baked it once and you don't want it, and if you keep using the same skin, you don't need to bake it again. You can just skip this whole section. You don't need to press 22, you don't need to press this button. You can just skip straight to this next step, which is merge geographs. Right, so let's do this. Let's merge geographs. Yeah, and once you press merge geographs, then there is no going back. All of the, if you missed any of the steps before, quite often you won't be able to, do it after you merge geographs. Maybe some of the steps, but most of them won't work anymore. Okay, so now it merged all of the geographs, and now we have just a single body mesh. So I think it's a good step. You might want to save your Blender file at this point again, And actually, you don't even need to press this button. You can just press Ctrl S. It's the same. Yeah, this is like a good breakpoint. So yeah, at this point, the next steps are you can simplify the golden palace materials. Yeah, so if you do this, then all of these complicated materials you had there, you can see after you merged geografts, all of the golden palace materials have been merged into the main body mesh, and they are still here. And if you go to UV maps, your unified GP UV map is still here, but it's not really being used. So if you want to really unify all of the materials, you have to first simplify the golden palace materials. Okay, so once you simplified the golden palace materials, then you might see some artifact here, but this is only temporary. You don't need to worry about it too much. The important thing is that if you go now to the materials tab and scroll down, you can see that the golden palace materials are still here, but now they just read from a texture, and now they also use the unified GPUVs instead of the default ones. Right, so all of the GP materials have been simplified. Now we can move on to the next step, which is to merge eyes, mouth, and tear. So if we do this, this just merges the eye mesh with the body mesh. Because now, we've simplified the eye materials and skin materials. Their materials are basically the same. They just read from a texture. So merging them is, gonna be fine. You can remove the tear. Yeah, it's not really useful. And now you can see that the eyebrows and the eyelashes, they both use transparent textures, whereas the skin is entirely opaque. And in Unreal Engine, you have the option to choose the preset of your material, whether you want to use the opaque or transparent material. And so we can merge eyelashes and eyebrows together into a single mesh, and it will just share the same material, but we cannot merge these with the rest of the body because they will have a different material, even in Unreal Engine. Okay, so at this point we can press merge textures. What it will do is that it will it will merge all of the textures of each body part and produce one large body atlas. So let me just show you really quickly. Edit mode. Let's select all of the vertices, and you can see that the legs and arms and torso and head, they occupy different, they go beyond the bounds of the texture itself. That's because they have separate textures. If you open, let's go here. If you open the textures, let's go here really quickly. You can see here that that, for example, this is the texture map for the arms, and here is the texture for the legs, and these are like separate textures, and they have entirely different materials that don't share UVs. They don't share UVs in common, really. And in Unreal Engine, it would be better if we could just merge all of these. And this is precisely what we want to do. Instead of having lots of smaller textures, we will have just one big texture atlas. So when you press merge textures, this will take all of these textures and sort of put them together into one big atlas. And this will produce those 3 texture atlases. This is what it looks like inside. Basically, the legs have been cut out and put here. The arms have been cut out and put here, and the torso here, you know, and everything has been compactified to save space. And because we saved space, we now have this additional, you know, some additional empty space here where we can put now nails and eyes and golden palace and tongue, and these things are arranged in a grid for a purpose. I will show you later. Yeah, so we have merged textures, and this has generated those 3 files, but we are not using them yet. In order to actually use them, we need to optimize the UVs, right? So like I showed you, this is what the UVs look like now. If you press optimize UVs, it will compactify them. And there is, however, a small thing you need to be aware of if you are working with females. You might see a seam here, you know, around, basically there where we saw the seam before, right? Here you can see the seam. And this seam, you know, if you want to avoid entirely the seam, we've already baked it, and the seam is very, not really noticeable, but it's still there. If you want to avoid the seam entirely, it would be better if we kept those UVs here as they were originally. So let's now Control Z to undo it, just for the moment. Let's go back. Okay, and let's choose the other option, have GP, and this will get rid of the seam. Yeah, now you can see here there is no more seam. Instead, the seam has been moved more to the like center, and you know, these are the places where the seam is really not noticeable in the game. So if you are working with females, I would suggest you use this option. Whereas if you are working with males, this option will be grayed out, and this will be the only option that you can use. Yeah, but anyway, now you can see that the character doesn't look right anymore. Everything seems to be sort of messed up. This is okay, because we will fix this in a moment. But before that, we now have one more step, and that is separate lip UVs. So you can see the lips are here, the lip UVs. However, in the Unreal Engine, you might want to change the color of lips, you know, in your character editor. You might give the user the option to choose to pick the color of their lips, you know, whatever they like. If you separate the lip UVs, this will make it much easier for you to do in Unreal, because now the UVs have been cut out from here, and instead they've been moved over here. And because everything is arranged in a grid here, you know, this is a very nice grid. This allows you later in Unreal Engine to create a material that will just, you know, take a modulo of the UV coordinate, and it will very easily find out where in the grid the UV coordinate falls into. And depending on the grid cell, you might apply different color, different glossiness, or whatever else you want. Okay, now the next step is to finally unify the skin materials. So if you go here, you can see that there are lots of skin materials, but we have simplified all of them. They now do nothing other than just reading from a texture. And we have also just created a texture atlas. So we can finally, and we also rearrange the UVs to match the texture atlas, right? Like you see here, all of the UVs are compactified. So now we just press unify skin materials into one, and all of these materials here will disappear, and instead one unified material will appear, and the model will also now start looking as we expect. Yep. So everything looks now pretty well. The lips are where the lips are supposed to be, eyes are where the eyes are supposed to be. This ugly seam is gone. You know, the nails are here and so on. So the material looks pretty well at this point. and we have just one single unified skin. If you go here, you can see that this is a very, very simple material. It just reads from a texture atlas, and that's it, right? It just reads from texture atlas. The UVs match the texture atlas perfectly, and you can manipulate, you know, like iris color. Can be manipulated independently from the lip color and so on. Okay, so now that the eyes, now that the skin uses one material, we can also merge, and also the eyelashes and eyebrows, they use also one single material, right? We already merged them before, right? They just use facial hair material, which does nothing more than just reads from this texture that we created before, that we, you know, this texture is provided by the plugin by default, but you should have your own. Yeah, anyway, these guys use their own material. We can now merge everything together. Now we have just a single mesh with facial hair and the skin, and there are two materials, and one of the materials is opaque and the other is transparent. And now we can move on to the next step, which we are done with the body. Now we can move on to the clothes. So there are three different types of clothes. We can, you know, there are these clothes like armor or whatever else that doesn't tightly fit the skin, right? You know, there's some kind of collar around the neck. It doesn't really follow the neck perfectly, or like, you know, there are some ornamental pieces. You know, the stocking, on the other hand, it follows the skin very, very tightly. There are no, you know, pieces that are sticking out. So we can just use shrink wrap modifier on these, but we cannot use shrink wrap modifier on these. So instead there is a special function to fit such clothes. You just press OK here. And one very important thing is that you have to make sure that your clothes are marked over here. Right, this is the guard vest that we are fitting now, and this is very important that you have -1 over here. If you had something greater than -1, then it would be treated as skin tight clothes. If it's -1, then this is not skin tight clothes. Right. So now we can bind clothes to displacement, and now we can use this to displace the clothes. And we have to do it because we want to avoid clipping in Unreal Engine. So if you displace the armor a little bit, you know, you can choose, but the default value of 1 is, you know, already pretty good. I would suggest you just go with 1, but you can adjust it. Once you are happy with it, you just press apply displacement, and yeah, now there should be no clipping in Unreal Engine. Now, fit panties. Panties need their very own function, you know, to deal with them. They are very, very tight, so we want to displace them a little bit, but we cannot use shrink wrap, because if we did, you know, there is this string between buttocks. Doesn't really play well. It's stuck so tightly between buttocks that if you applied shrink wrap, you know, it would shrink to, you know, just a like unnoticeable string. It would, you know, just glitch completely. So there is a different function for dealing with panties specifically. And yeah, if you just press fit panties, it will displace them a little bit, and it will make sure that this part doesn't collapse or, you know, glitch. Yeah, and if you can adjust, you know, how much each panty is displaced. You can adjust it, you know, with this constant. If you want it to be displaced more, you can set the constant value higher. And then the skin type clothes. So that would include the stockings. They are also, this is just a shrink wrap modifier. You can, you can adjust it, but you need to be, this is like very sensitive to small adjustment, setting it to 3 is like quite a lot. I would suggest you just go with 0. That should be already good enough. But if, 0 value doesn't like prevent clipping for you, you can like set it to, maybe 0, 0, 3. I don't know. Once you are happy with it, you just apply skin tight clothes. Yeah. And then lastly, once you made sure that there is some space and there is no clipping, the last part is to transfer the new bones to clothes. So the new bones includes the, the butt bones, the thigh bones, and the additional breast bones. So you just press this. Okay, so it finished. And let's try with this one. Pose mode. So you see the clothes now respond to them. Well, this piece of clothing in particular, it seems to be some kind of armor. So, armor shouldn't really jiggle. So what you would probably want to do in Unreal Engine is to disable jiggle physics for certain kinds of clothing. But this is something to do on the Unreal side. And also here you see that the clothes also follow the butt and so on. And now you also want to transfer the morphs to the clothes. So this is already selected. Everything is already pre-selected correctly, so you can just press OK. Okay, so the clothes at this point are respond to bones and to the morph targets. You can even see if you go to the custom ones, and I don't know, let's choose something interesting. Emancipated body, for example. You see that the clothes follow the skin. Right, so everything is almost ready. Now we just need to make sure that the scale is correct. When it comes to hair, so the plugin at this point does not yet support optimizing hair. This is a bit tricky. So there are most of the hair in Daz uses is strand based, which you could try to import to Unreal as groom hair, but this is something that the plugin doesn't like cover in any special way. Just follow any tutorial on transferring hair to Unreal and it will work. But now we need to scale it to money. So this is very important. What it will do is that now the size of the character matches like the size of the queen in this case, because it's female, and if it was male then it would match money, right? The general body proportions. And now you want to probably convert, so there are like different ways you can go about it. You probably have some animations in Unreal, and you will need to either retarget those animations, in which case you can keep the skeleton as it is, but you can also convert the skeleton to be compatible with money. Actually, I would recommend you do this because that makes everything easier. You can just use the skeleton without any need for retargeting whatsoever. So this renamed all of the bones and changed their position a little bit. But as you see, the bones typically the bones in Unreal, they are oriented, in certain specific way, and you need to make sure that those orientations also match. Unless you want to do retargeting. If you want to do retargeting, then you don't need to do it. But if you want to make sure that the character is compatible with money, then you need to reorient the bones. And it will make sure that the bones, follow the right direction, orientation, or whatever. right? And lastly, so you can now decide to like detach the hair from the skeleton. It's like optional, but if you detach the hair from the skeleton, then it will remove you know, the spine and neck bones, and it will only retain the bones that are specific to the hair itself. And also it will like position the hair in such a way that the if you were to set a socket, if you were to use a socket to position the hair, then it would fall perfectly into place. And I will show you how exactly this works. If you go to pose mode, then here you have the this is the head bone. So if you set the socket on the head bone, you know, exactly in this like at position 0, 0 basically, then you can use this position, you know, the hair is positioned in such a way that the point 0, 0 is perfectly where the head bone would be. So you can just snap the hair to that socket in Unreal and it will match perfectly. Yeah, so that's about the hair. And now you might want to also add the IK bones. Right, so this is something that this is so that for the purpose of the IK rig in Unreal. And then you want to, this is very important, this is to make sure that the scale matches Unreal Engine units. You press this one and the character becomes really, really huge. And this is fine. Okay, so now you are ready to export to FBX. You can just press export body to FBX. This will export the body itself. If you go here, where is it? Oh, this one, yeah. It will just create the FBX file right next to the Blender file itself. Now let's export the clothes as well, and it will create clothes, a directory with clothes, and you have one FBX for each clothing piece. And if you want, you can also export hair. It will create hair. Yep. And that's basically it. You can save if you want at this point. Yeah, the hair is quite heavy to export, but it doesn't really matter. So let's open Unreal Engine at this point. Okay, so now in Unreal Engine you can just press import and choose whatever place it is where you saved it. Yeah, this one. Open. So at this point, if you converted the Daz skeleton to Unreal skeleton, you can just select the SK mannequin. If you have morphs, you can choose to import morphs, but it should be true by default already. And just press import. Okay, so now you will, if you open the materials, you will see that they are, you know, a bit chaotic. So you will need to fix them. You know, you will see that the eyebrows don't work, eyelashes, and you know the skin texture should work, but we can improve it even more. So I already did it in another project. I will show you how it should look like. This is the facial hair. It's super simple. The important thing is that you set the blend mode to translucent and shading mode and surface, and then you just take the RGB value of the texture sample and you use this as the opacity. And the base color, you can either make it constant, then it will always be black, or you can turn it into a parameter, then you can adjust the color at runtime. More interesting is the unified skin texture. You will need to copy this code. It will be somewhere in the description below, probably. Just copy this code and create a custom node, custom HLSL node, and just paste it there. And you will need to create, very important, you will need to create the following inputs. Just create the add element, and add, you need to make sure that the names are the same, or at least the same as in the code here. And then you will be able to at runtime adjust colors, things like lip color, for example, or like nail color or lip color or skin tone. You will be able to adjust all of those at runtime. Then the output of this needs to be multiplied with the diffuse color map, and the rest is pretty standard, just normal map, shininess map, the font, just copy this like you see here. And if you do everything correctly, then you should be able to, for example, set the nail color to something, and the lip color to, let's say, something else. Maybe turn the skin tone darker, and just click apply. And if you open the preview mesh, you will see that the lip color is now green, the nails are purple, and the skin tone is generally darker. Yeah, and that's basically it. The character should work out of the box, with all of the animations you have. You don't need any retargeting, and yeah, that's pretty much it. In the future, I can add more features that would allow also for handling makeup and tattoos and things like that. But this will probably be like a paid feature, I suppose. Yeah, so thanks.